Hello, coming to you from this rainy day here, this rainy, cloudy day. I just wanted to tell you how to actually finish songs really quickly. The process, the 4-step process that I think you should use, that I use, that all my students use, all my clients use. Gets great results, works really well. So there's 4 steps to this, okay? There's the composition, there's the production, there's mixing, and then there's mastering. That's how you finish a song. That's how I want you to think about finishing a song, making music quickly. So in the composition phase, there's a couple parts to this. There's really the songwriting. There's actually coming up with the idea of the song and how it's gonna go. And then there's the arrangement of the song. So what matters most here is that you have a motif and then you have 2 distinct ideas. So that could be a build up and a drop, that could be an intro and a drop, and more importantly, those 2 ideas should be related by the motif. So in some way, you have a motif and it connects those 2 different ideas. Now, what the heck is a motif? A motif is just a memorable melody that is simple enough for you to sing. So think about Avicii, think about that song Levels, right? Da 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 ba da da ba da 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 da. Now, I'm not stupid, but if I were stupid, I could sing that. And that's the point. You want something simple enough that someone who doesn't understand music can just sing it with their mouth. Ba 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 da da ba. That's a good motif. Something that's simple. And it can be very simple. A lot of the best motifs are very simple. But yeah, motif, M-O-T-I-F, it's literally an element of a musical composition that's recognizable, that's memorable, and that's repeated throughout the musical composition. So that's the first part of the composition process out of the 4 parts. Now, once you have your 2 distinct ideas related by the motif, the next thing you should do is structure the song. And this is really easy. Just look at a reference track, okay? You know, I talk about EDM here. This works for any genre, even if it's not EDM that you're making, but let's say you're doing house. You might have 8 measures intro, 8 measures build up, and then 24 measures drop, and then a breakdown, and then another build up, and then another drop. Seriously, just steal a track that you like, download it, get the MP3, get the WAV file, pull it into your DAW, pull it into Ableton, pull it into FL Studio, look at the arrangement, match the tempo, and then just steal the arrangement and add tags. By tags, I just mean whatever your software lets you do to mark the different parts of the arrangement. So intro, measure 1, and then after 8 measures, we would have maybe a drop. Again, it depends on the track that you're stealing the arrangement from. Just steal the arrangement, okay? You do not have to be creative when it comes to arrangement. It's not worth it. Just steal an arrangement. No one invented arrangements. You can just steal it. And plus, it's going to make your life easier. It's going to make the people DJing your music's life easier. And it's going to make you finish songs faster because you can pick an arrangement that's shorter. And as a third bonus, the Spotify algorithm is tending to favor shorter songs anyway, 2.5 to 3.5 minutes. Now, you've completed stage 1. You've come up with your 2 distinct ideas. You've come up with your motif, which connects those 2 distinct ideas. And again, by distinct ideas, I simply mean things that are slightly different. It's not an 8-bar loop, okay? An 8-bar loop, great, but that's one idea. So think about another idea, an 8-bar loop and a breakdown, an 8-bar loop and an intro. And again, you have the motif somehow in these 2 sections. This is where you get a song, okay? This is the difference. This is actually the difference between a song and an 8-bar loop, is you have 2 sections which are connected somehow. Okay, and you're gonna see when you do this, you're gonna 100% guaranteed see this, is when you have 2 distinct ideas, when you have 2 ideas, you're gonna start to feel that you're making a song. And then when you give it the structure based on the track that you're stealing the arrangement from, now it's just a matter of working left to right and filling in the structure. And this is where we get to phase 2, which is the production process. Okay, so again, you have a motif now, you have an idea, you have 2 ideas, and you have an idea for a song, which is 2 ideas, I know. And so now that you have your structure that you took from your reference track, you're just gonna fill the structure. So fill out the intro, do what you think you need to do to produce the track. Do the drums, do the vocal, add a synth, add a lead, make the build up, make the drop, do your sound design, however you like to do that. This is a high level video. This is everything you need to actually make songs very quickly, efficiently, over time. And if you do it this way, you're going to find that your quality is going to increase and increase and increase. But the amount of time it takes you to finish a song will not increase. In fact, it'll stay the same and it might even decrease. 2 or 3 years from now, you'll be able to make something that's 100 times as good as what you're making now, and it's going to take you the same amount of time if you do it this way, because you have a process and you're practicing the process and you're going to be finishing stuff quickly. So yeah, we're in the second phase, production, where now you just fill the structure left to right. Super simple. You just produce the track. And if you're new, maybe it's not super simple, but even if you're new, you know what you have to do. You know that you have the structure, you have the arrangement, and it's your job now to fill the arrangement left to right, however you want to do that. Your sound design, your drums, it's up to you. That's why we love this stuff, right? Now, that's the production phase, okay? And the production phase, again, is where you do your sound design. It's where you fill out the structure. It's where you work up and down. When we're doing the arrangement, we're working left to right. We just want to structure it, but now we're actually filling that structure. Okay, we're working left to right and we're going up and down. I should clarify. So when I'm saying left and right, I'm talking like in the DAW. When we're in the composition phase, it's more important that we actually come up with an idea. We don't want to go crazy with sound design just yet. We don't want to go crazy with layering and variation just yet. What's more important during this first phase of the song is that we come up with the idea of the song. Is that we come up with the motif, is that we come up with the 2 distinct sections of writing that are going to actually give us a song in the first place. Because this is going to limit how good our production is. It's going to limit how good our mix is. Your master chain doesn't matter if your song's bad, right? But jumping back now to phase 2. So yeah, when I'm saying left to right, up and down, what I mean is in the DAW. So phase 1, again, left to right. We don't want to do a bunch of sound design. We don't want to add a bunch of layers. You're just coming up with the idea. Now in the production phase, phase 2, yes, we are working left to right to fill the structure, but now we're thinking more up and down. Okay, how can I add those layers? How can I make this drop full? How can I vary the drums? And now we're going up and down, adding more channels, adding more sounds, and filling out that arrangement. So that's the first 2 phases. So again, overall, we have composition, production, mixing, and mastering, 4 phases. We've covered the first 2 phases. Now we're going to move on to mixing. The entire purpose of the mixing phase is just to achieve balance of your sounds. That's the whole point. That's it. That's it. It's so easy and it's so simple, I'm telling you. It's really quite straightforward. The purpose of the mixing phase is to achieve balance. And how do we achieve balance? We achieve balance through volume. Where and when is the volume? That's the question you need to be asking yourself. That's the entire question. That's how you achieve professional mixes. That's how you achieve the sound that you dream of. That's how you sound like every artist you admire in terms of mix quality, is you ask that question. Where is the volume? When is the volume? What is the balance? What is the focus? You do this throughout the song. So now you simply comb through the arrangement. You go through the arrangement that you just filled out in the production phase, and you say, okay, what needs to be the focus here? Is it a vocally driven song? Is it a bass heavy dubstep track with growls and crazy sound design? This is what's going to determine your volume faders' relationships to each other. This is what's going to determine what needs to be the loudest, what needs to be the quietest, what needs to be the focus. Generally speaking, one thing should be louder than everything else. And when I say louder, I mean subjectively louder. And so that's how you're gonna start to get good at this. That's how you're gonna figure out, well, okay, this is what my actual volume faders should be. And every single other mixing tool serves this one purpose. EQ, compression, stereo width, panning, stereo width / panning, because it's the same concept. Delay, reverb. Where is the volume? When is the volume? If it's a dubstep track and you have a drop, you gotta make sure your basses are loud enough so that people are focused on like the sound design, right? Because it's a dubstep track. If you're making a house drop, but it's progressive house and you have vocals, then you need to make sure that not only are the vocals loud enough, but that the vocals aren't being drowned out by the piano, that they're not being drowned out by the synth or the pads or whatever, the hi-hats even, like whatever other elements you have. What needs to be loudest? What is the focus? We can only really focus on one thing at a time. So if you have 3 elements, if you have a piano, a vocal, and a pluck, and they're all the same volume, and they're all the same frequency range, then they're going to be fighting. There's going to be competition between them in the mids. And that's a problem for your mix clarity. It's going to decrease your mix quality because you now are not, as the listener, sure of what to be focusing on. So it's a very easy solution. This is where mixing comes in. We balance the sounds. We attack it with EQ now to decrease certain areas, to make room for other things so that we have the focus completely clear, so that we know this is what is supposed to be on the listener's mind. This is what the listener is supposed to be listening to at this time in the song. And we just do that through the whole song. Now, mixing, the third phase, production, the second phase is not just production. You can do some mixing during the production phase. I actually do a lot of mixing during the production phase. I do make mixing decisions in the production phase. And so the mixing phase, the third phase, it's not the only time I mix, but it's the time I only mix. By the time I'm in the third phase, I'm not worried about sound design. I'm not worried about, do I need more hi-hats? No. Those are phase 2 decisions. Those are production decisions. Those are sound design, sound selection decisions. No, mixing, we are only worried about mixing in the third phase, and that's the whole point. That's really the whole point. We want to make sure we have its dedicated time to make sure the balance is right, to make sure the focus is right, to make sure the volume is right. And that's it. That's mixing. And then mastering is just about polish, okay? Big master chains, pushing 10 dB of gain into a limiter. It's all bullshit. Now, okay, if you make pop music, and yeah, like fine, you know, you can push some loudness during the master phase, but what I believe is that the loudness of your track is a fundamental part of the track, and so you should just build it in. I don't think you should wait till the mastering phase to be loud, especially if you make EDM. If you make EDM and you have a fat mastering chain where you're pushing it 8 dB, you're just not doing it the best way. Like, sorry, there's a better way. If you're curious, I can explain more about that. It's less important if you make pop or jazz, quieter genres, even some hip hop. But mastering, you should not be doing big things during the mastering phase. This is about polish. This is about boosting the mids half a dB to slightly shift the feel. This is not about putting a compressor on your master because you think that your mix needs to be more compressed, or you saw somebody do it on YouTube. No. You don't want to look for things to do in mastering, in my opinion. Nowadays, I find that my track is already pretty much where I want it to be by the time I get to mastering, and I'm not really doing much at all. You know, I'll do a little bit of a boost in the highs, maybe a little bit of dynamic EQ in the high mids, a little bit of mid-side cleanup where I'll low cut the sides, I'll low cut at 30 hertz, I'll high cut at 20k hertz, stuff like that. I'll put in a little bit of soothe where I just do a slight reduction on some of the harsh frequencies, but it's so subtle. If you're in your mastering phase and you for example, add a fat EQ boost and you find that it sounds better, like way better, then that's actually not a mastering problem. You need to go back into your mix and figure out what you can do to solve that before you even get to the master chain. This is how you're going to get the best results, guaranteed. Now, this is also why you should master, because let's say it does sound better with that EQ boost of 3 dB wherever. That tells you something about the quality of your track. It tells you about your production choices. It tells you about your mix choices. And so mastering is really helpful, and that's why it's important. And as you're mastering too, what you should also do is you want to have several reference tracks in your genre that mimic what you're going for, and now during the mastering you can compare the frequency balance of the track that you made to your reference tracks. And you can clearly then see, okay, what are the reference tracks doing that I'm not doing? Is there anything that they're doing that I'm not doing? You'll find that if your frequency balance is pretty much the same as your reference tracks, and you have all the same instrumental elements, then you should be pretty close. Doesn't matter who made the track. It could be the best producer in the world. If you have the same balance, if you have the same instruments, and your sound design is good, and your mixing is good, you're gonna sound just as good. It's really that simple. It's what I teach all my clients. Professional quality is literally just a balance of sine waves at certain volumes. That's it. It's literally an image, it's a snapshot of balance throughout the frequency spectrum that we can perceive. And so if you can match that balance and you can get sounds that sound good and you can make it work, you're gonna sound just as good. It's really that simple. But yeah, that is the mastering phase. Okay. Again, mastering is not about doing big changes. It's not about we're gonna completely change the feel of the song. We're gonna compress the heck out of the song. No, you don't do that during mastering. Maybe a little bit of multiband compression for certain genres. I don't even really do that. I messed around with it, but I personally just don't think you should be doing a lot during the mastering phase, okay? Aim to get the best results early as possible, okay? You want to write the best song, and then you want to choose the best sounds, and then you want to mix what you have, and then you want to master that, okay? You're also going to find, to wrap this up, that if you pick good sounds in the first place, if you choose really good sounds that just work for what you're doing, you're not going to have to do much mixing either, because everything is just going to fit so well together right out of the box that the focus is already great, and the fullness is there, the richness, the intrigue, it's already all there. And so you don't really have to fix that much. But that's pretty much it. To recap, again, this is how you finish music. This is how you make songs. This is how you actually get cracked at this. 4 phases: composition, production, mixing, and mastering. Break it up. Do one at a time. Don't move on to the next until you finish the previous one. And I promise you, this is gonna change your life forever. This is worth unlimited value to you if you make money, or this is worth unlimited value to you if you make music and you care about finishing songs. And so, yeah, you should definitely do this.